Hey guys, it's time for me to do a quick review of my last modified Hubsan X4 107D FPV mini quadcopter. As you can see, the quadcopter has been modified. It's a modified version that I will present you here. Modified lens, modified antennas, and also there's a modified controller with an antenna and a new kind of battery powered system. But first of all, let's start by presenting this quadcopter as it is out of the box at first, and then I will show you my little improvements. First, this 107D quadcopter is the evolution of a previous model called the Hubsan X4 107C HD quadcopter. It's been delivered with a HD cam here, the HD cam here, and a SD card slot and a controller, a special controller like that. It looked like a gamepad, but you have it well in hand. It's a good controller, and the X4 107C was the achievement of the X4 series of Hubsan quadcopters. That are, to my eyes, the best of all MIDI quadcopters available in the market in terms of design, in terms of reliability, stability, ease of use, fun, and of course we all know that they are very cheap quadcopters. So I'm going to show you the box of the 107D. With this product, Hubsan decided to replace this HD camera by another kind of camera here. This camera transmits its video picture through a radio signal in 5.8 GHz at first, and this radio signal can be received and decoded in real time by this new controller. This new controller here, and as you can see, it has a huge integrated LCD screen. It allows you to fly focused on this LCD screen and from the quadcopter's perspective, and this is called FPV, or first person view, and it's theoretically it's far more immersive. It's a far more immersive flying experience. So the controller has some extended abilities, including an SD card slot here that is able to record the video signal decoded by the controller. It has a video output port here, as you can see, and if I click there, I think yeah, and as you can see, you can activate a menu, and with this menu you can of course do a lot of things. You can replay your recorded videos, and you can in fact totally configure, set up the whole package through this menu. In fact, you can do a lot of things, set the sensitivity, reverse flying modes, and so on. So it's a complete solution, complete package, can totally be configured through a simple menu available from the LCD screen. So before I present you all those modifications I did on the package, first of all, let's say that this FPV mini quadcopter is out of this box pretty and good looking quadcopter, and Hubsan has truly improved not only the design of the quadcopter itself, but it has also released a very good looking an unconventional controller with it, because all the controllers, they don't have this huge LCD screen integrated in it. Globally, the LCD screen is located on the bottom of the controller. It's strange. It's a strange choice, but maybe it's better to use this LCD screen as it is located on the top of the controller. Speaking about the controller, you can see that here there are at first some little strange holes on the top of it, like there. See? Little strange hole where you could maybe plug some external antennas, but as you can see, those holes have been sealed. So I guess that during the conception process, Hubsan had to make choices and compromises. In the end, we see that the original receiver's antenna has been hidden inside the controller itself. When you check the package at first, there are nothing. You cannot see any external antenna, and it's not delivered. So you get that it's been simply integrated and hidden inside the controller. So I'm going to show you something else. So the problem is that you won't find in the package anything able to block the sun rays when playing with your quadcopter outdoor, and that's surprising because you can, however, see that some little holes were prepared to block this, to initially add something that would hide the LCD screen and block the sun rays. But I think that once again Hubsan wanted, probably trying to lower the price of the product, and decided not to deliver something like that in the final package. So this is surprising, but well, when you consider the price of the final package, it can be explained. Okay, as you can see here, the controller needs a pack of 4 batteries of 1.5 volts. That makes a total of 6 volts only. But this input power is somehow very surprising, because the previous controller that looked like a gamepad, this controller didn't have all these additional FPV features, such as this huge LCD screen, this SD card slot, this output video, for example, this 5.8 gigahertz included antenna inside of it. So it seems that these battery requirements are another questionable choice from Hubsan, that absolutely wanted to keep a limited number of batteries in the new controller, while radically increasing the functionalities in it. For example, you can imagine that the huge LCD screen and the SD card slot and the 5.8 GHz frequency antenna have to be highly powered, otherwise nothing of it will work at all. So logically, you'll discover quickly that this LCD screen, this LCD screen, is sucking so fast your batteries that they will make it only during approximately half an hour. Half an hour, man. And I'm generous. So you will quickly realize that you will have to buy packs of 2,500 milliamps rechargeable batteries. These are those kind of batteries I use here are of that type. Why do you have to do this? Because if you don't do this, you will have to buy forever new and new and new batteries for this in conventional controller, you see. And as you can see here, it's a good example of what happens with that kind of batteries. I've plugged them in the controller before. It's been 20 minutes that this controller is bound to the quadcopter, and you can see that it starts to behave in the wrong way. You can see that this solution only works for 20 minutes, so I said half an hour, but rechargeable batteries anyway can be used during 20 minutes, no more, no less. So it's truly it's a shitty system. But I've worked it out. I will show you my solutions and they work well. But let's come back to the LCD screen. I've replaced the batteries. So let's come back to the LCD screen. The camera used for the FPV mode produces absolutely no delays. See, I'm turning it, and I can see instantly the results. In fact, so there are no real delays between a movement of the quadcopter and the resulting video in the LCD screen. So the synchronization between the quadcopter and the controller is perfect. And the camera has a good automatic exposure. I mean that, for example, if you are flying in different lighting conditions, in the shadows and in the pure light, in the shadows and in the pure light, the camera will adapt its exposure fast enough during high-speed flights. Unfortunately, the video definition is somehow low, and the colors are not truly my cup of tea. But, well, anyway, it's not a camera used for the pleasure of eyes. It's just a FPV flight mode only, and only on this point, well, the technology just does what it says. This is LiPo 3.7 volts battery, and as usual, the quadcopter will need a small 1S 3.7 volts LiPo battery that will let you fly approximately between 5 or 6 minutes, depending on the way you fly. You can fly gently or with brutal accelerations. I'm going to show you the props guard here. This is the props guard when you fly indoor, for example, protects your propellers. You will save some extra energy if you don't use the props guard that makes the quadcopter heavier, and making it heavier uses indeed faster the battery's energy. And I truly, in fact, recommend you to buy a set of that kind of batteries that can be bought on sites like banggood.com, for example. That kind of batteries are 500 milliamps batteries, and that kind of batteries are able to handle the weight of the quadcopter, and because let's recognize that 5 or 6 minutes is indeed too short, and really it's too short for having fun on a long-term basis. So I recommend you to buy and bring with you this set of charged LiPo batteries before you start to play with this quadcopter. But as usual, the quadcopter on the top of this technology and on the top of this specific video camera, the guys from Hubsan have built this 107D model starting from a proven technology. And logically, this quadcopter is very stable, and it's easy to fly, and it has an excellent reactivity. And there's something curious with the radio signals. Initially, out of the box, the 5.8 gigahertz antenna located under the quadcopter, so this is called a dipole antenna, it is producing a horizontal linear radio signal. But the 5.8 gigahertz antenna that is hidden in the controller, it is something that is totally different. It's a planar, and you need directional kind of antenna. Let's have a look on it. So you see, I've removed it from the controller. I've opened it and removed it. Look at it. This is the antenna. So you can see it. They say that 5.8 gigahertz antenna. So you can see that it's the right thing I've removed. And look at this. The ground is planar, and the top of it here, it's a planar system. See? So what does it mean? Frankly, it means that, for example, let's have a look on this antenna. It means that the receiver won't be able to catch correctly the radio signal that comes from the back of this antenna, for example. And the quadcopter is on the back of the controller. The radio signal won't be received correctly, and this is exactly what will happen, for example. So it means that, for example, when the quadcopter is flying behind the controller, you will be obliged, you will see that the quality of the video picture will quickly decline, and you will be obliged to preserve the quality of your video picture by rotating the controller like that. This is strange because you will be obliged to perform this to preserve the video quality. Rotate the controller so that it targets the quadcopter position in space. This is a very strange thing, and this is due to this kind of antenna. There's something strange with the initial camera lens and the LCD screen. The LCD screen has a 16:9 display, and theoretically it would display well HD video pictures of any action cam. So you could guess that this large LCD screen has been designed especially for that purpose. I mean, to display a large field of view of a true action cam. But you're wrong. You're wrong. For some unknown reasons, Hubsan has set a dramatically narrow field of view for the inboard camera lens. It's so narrow field of view that you feel like you're in a corridor. It means that, for example, that your quadcopter, if your quadcopter is sliding horizontally, if it performs that kind of movement like that, it will probably crash against some side objects that your camera could not see because they are located outside its narrow field of view. So this is very disturbing to try to fly in FPV mode with just a narrow field of view, because you don't see this and that outside. Even if the picture has been enlarged, the initial image has a truly narrow field of view. It's not suited to FPV. It's too bad. And this is the reason why I decided to improve it, to have better FPV flying conditions. The original Hudson propellers are in red and white. If you're new to the FPV concept, the original red and white propellers delivered with the quadcopter will logically often hit some objects or walls, and they are very fragile. They break easily. Hopefully they are also very cheap, and you can buy some extra propellers for just $2. I recommend anyway to avoid to perform some lateral slides like that with your quadcopter while flying in FPV mode. You should learn to fly forward. To fly forward is to fly like that. See? Always flying forward. So that you have time to see any kind of objects that gets on your way. But as I said, the quadcopter is built on proven technology, and even if you brutally hit some walls, the body of the quadcopter, especially here, will absorb the shock. If you get a brutal shock, this place of the quadcopter will absorb this shock. This is and the lower parts, this lower part of the body of the quadcopter will look like it's broken, but it's not broken. You just have to reclip it like that, and voila, the quadcopter is repaired. So, in conclusion, what can we finally say about the FPV experience available out of the box? Let's say that some choices have been done to artificially lower the price of the product, and you will have to keep in mind that you're flying in FPV within some serious limitations. Let's call them limitations. The controller that sucks your batteries so fast that you'll need to recharge and recharge them every 20 minutes or half an hour. A directional planar antenna that requires to always fly with a quadcopter in front of yourself and not too far. Truly narrow field of view that requires to always fly forward and not to slide too much horizontally if you want to avoid to hit some objects. All these problems are, however, very easy to circumvent, and the solutions are cheap. So here comes the time to show you a bit my little improvements and my modifications. Look at this lens. For example, you can buy this kind of thing. It has a magnetic surface here, and it's initially sold for the smartphone market, see, and you can place it in front of the provided lens here. You can place it here. It will enlarge your field of view to 120 degrees, and I did it with the help of some special repair glue. I've created a small bridge here. You can see it, the small bridge. It lowers the angle because there is an angle of 35 degrees here. that is bothering me because of this angle. The additional lens didn't work, so I had to create it with a bit of repair glue, and it allowed me to put on the top of it a kind of iron crown. Here there is an iron crown, and since it's in iron, I can then easily put the magnetic lens on it. And with this magnetic lens on it, I simply have a field of view of 120 degrees, and now I can fly and see what's going on in the border of the camera, and it's a better way to fly. So this is my first improvement, and you can see it's not expensive. $20 only, and I'm sure you could find on some sites the same solution for even a lower price. Now let's talk about the props. These props come from another quadcopter that is sold by Valkyra, and this quadcopter is called the Ladybird. And I've replaced the Hubsan props by Ladybird props because even if the Ladybird is another AFPV quadcopter that is more expensive and it hasn't got the same look and feel, it is not as good looking as the Hubsan's AFPV quadcopter, but you can buy some spare parts. Including the propellers that are known to be solid, more efficient, and most of all, far more resistant than the Hubsan props. So, you just buy them for a few bucks. The cost of the props is ridiculously low, and as you do it, you will realize that the propellers won't break as easily, and the stability and the reactivity of the quadcopter will be excellent. So I truly recommend you to replace the original Hubsan props by Valkyra's one. This is what I did to the linear dipole antenna. I cut it, simply. I cut it and replaced it by this thing. This thing is called a cloverleaf antenna. A cloverleaf antenna is a mushroom-like antenna at first, but I've removed the plastic around it. And what does it do? It spreads the radio signal in all the directions, as you can see. It's not a planar thing. It spreads radio signals in all the directions under the quadcopter. So this little modifications allows you to be sure that your video signal will be spread on the bottom and in all directions, and not in a linear way. Linear way is not good. This is the first thing. And then have a look on the controller. Let's have a look on it. And you can see that I've added a new kind of batteries. If you look on the back of the controller, you can see there's 4 screws here. And if you remove these screws, you will see that just under the LCD screen, you will find the planar antenna. I've already shown you this thing. And you simply have to cut it. You cut it, you remove it. And while you do it, I recommend you to use this kind of thing. It's called SMA plug. It's an SMA plug. You can when you cut the cable, you just clean the cable with this one, and then you put the SMA cable. I'm going to show you where you have to put it. You remember the little holes I showed you at the beginning of the video here? You'll find the same kind of holes there. So you put the SMA plug in it here, and then it's a female SMA plug. So after that, once you've plugged it here and glued it here, you will be able to screw that kind of antenna. That is the same kind of cloverleaf antenna here. It's the cloverleaf antenna here, and it's a cloverleaf blue antenna here. It's located outside of the controller. See? Outside of it. So, while it's located outside, there are less interferences in the video signal. So it's a good thing, first. So you will get better radio signal reception with this kind of antenna on the controller. So I highly recommend you to buy this kind of cloverleaf antenna. You can, for example, just be sure that this system will receive a video signal that comes in lots of directions. So even if you've got, for example, a controller that is like that, it won't be a problem anymore. You will receive the video signal. And now the battery. Concerning the way to deal with the controller energy, if you are bored, like me, of charging and recharging forever your controller batteries, you can replace them by a unique 7.4 volts 2200 milliamps rechargeable battery. This is that kind of battery I'm talking about. As you can see, 2200 milliamps battery, and it's a 7.4 volts voltage battery. Most of the people that are used to fly with quadcopters know this kind of battery. It is generally used to feed the brushless motors of larger quadcopters at the highest rates. It allows you to perform some very fast and brutal accelerations and true impressive acrobatics with your larger quadcopters. And they are able to deliver so much raw energy so fast that your circuits here need to be protected from some excessive heat. And to protect your circuits from some excessive heats, I recommend you to add between this point and the controller something that is called UBEC. UBEC. You can find it for a few bucks on banggood.com. A UBEC, and I recommend you to buy a 6 volt 3 amps UBEC. What is a UBEC? A UBEC is a special device that will automatically limit to 6 volts and 3 amps the maximum input voltage of the controller, whatever you use as a battery before. Some people don't have the 7.4 kind of battery, they have 11 volts batteries. So if you want to control the voltage and be sure not to get excessive heat, you should install a UBEC just before you use a soldering kit, and you install a UBEC just before. UBEC is a small device. It's a very cheap device, but it will protect your circuits. It's a safety modification, if you want. And also, you got to be careful when you choose this alternative solution for powering the controller. because this alternative solution could harm your batteries. If you, for example, forget your batteries in it, and if you plug this while you forget the high-sized batteries in it, you take the risk to see your AA batteries burning or exploding. So don't let those batteries inside the controller when you use that kind of additional solution. Otherwise it will burn or explode, you won't. And this battery needs a special charger to be charged. The special charger is called a balanced charger, you see. So you need that kind of charger to deal with that kind of batteries. It's called a balanced charger. It's not expensive. Nothing is expensive, finally. And this is the well-known IMAX balanced charger that I'm talking about. So anyway, most of the FPV guys or quadcopter owners already have that kind of charger. But if you don't have one, you should buy one because it's very useful. At first I have thought about a solution in which I completely remove all the place where the 4 AA size batteries are located. But finally I decided to keep it and to stick the battery under the controller with the help of some Velcro tape. You can see Velcro tape. So you put it like that, and you can move the controller to do the job correctly. And after that you only have to plug the battery, knowing that behind it there is a U-back that is protecting the circuits of the controller. And if, for example, the battery is discharged, when the battery is discharged and when I have no other solution, I still have the opportunity to put some AA sized batteries in the controller. So this is a more flexible solution. I can alternatively use this kind of solution and the classical solution. So I kept it like that and just drilled little holes here, and I've hidden a U-back in this part of the controller. I rescrewed this, and it's a pretty good modified version of this controller. As you can see, you can also put that kind of thing around your neck, so that if you accidentally let your controller drop, it won't be broken when it falls on the ground. So these are the overall modifications I did on this package. So finally, all of these modifications are cheap, they are simple. Even someone with a little experience in electronic can understand and apply them with a soldering kit, a transparent tape, for example, some repair glue, and eventually a multimeter to test the voltage of your circuits. But it's simple. For example, here, as you can see, there is some, it's hard to see, but there is some transparent tape just to fix and to let the cloverleaf antenna in the bottom of the quadcopter, what compensates the weight of the lens, because the weight of the lens here and the weight of the antenna is exactly the same. So I've put it exactly on the bottom to compensate and make it more stable in the end. So all these solutions are simple and since you can easily break the limitation of this product, let's say that the final verdict of all this package is good. It's good. The FPV in the end is a very interesting deal. It's a good way to start to fly in FPV mode for a truly reasonable price. Well, I just have some small regrets about the mods I had to do, because when you look at the product as it goes out of the box, it's a pretty looking quadcopter, and my solutions will require from you that you drill some holes in here and there, and that you modify a lot the way the quadcopter looks here. It's a bit ugly, the little antenna here, and it's too bad I had to modify the good cool design of the package. But anyway, when you're flying with a quadcopter far away, you don't see anything, you don't see any details. So, well, it's up to Hudson to release a version 2 of this product with improved antennas, improved power system, improved field of view, improved props, while preserving the design I love. I think that this little modification wouldn't harm too much the business model of the Hudson product. And now it's time to check the first video I've made with my modified quadcopter. And concerning the videos I can took with the SD card here, they are recorded in a very particular file format. It's 720 pixels on 280 pixels. Once again, it's a very unconventional file format, so you need to use some conversion software and some video color grading software to get one, a correct picture format, and two, a correct video color grading. So let's see the video.
Joe.